Hey everybody, I'm Sara Wiseman. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about anxiety and how you can move forward from being in an anxious state into a place where you feel peaceful and calm and relaxed. And anxiety is a psychological issue, it's an emotional issue, it's a physical issue, and it's also a spiritual issue. So a lot of you have some pretty good skills of using, say, breathing to relax anxiety, which is a great method. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, preferably with eyes closed if you're in a place you can do that. And just that breathing. And for those of you who've done work with me, you know that already on that second breath, you're entrained to go to a relaxed space. And for those of you who haven't tried that super simple breath, what you might not know is that on breath 10, you will be transported into a place of calm. Even if, your heart's pounding, you're having all these anxious thoughts, that will simply shift your nervous system. So there's a tool. But what I want to talk about more is how to think about things in a way where you're not anxious, how to sort of shift the way you're thinking about things so that anxiety isn't the first go-to for you. Or if anxiety comes, you have some tools of looking at things in a different way. And I'm well aware that people have deep reasons for being anxious. They may have, as some of us have had, deep trauma when they were children, or deeply complicated and dangerous and unhappy relationships in our adult life, or deep situations in our adult life. Even just the fact that we've all been through this pandemic, we're still here at time of recording, at least we're still in the midst of it. So lots of reasons to have that feeling of like, oh no, oh no. And yet there are ways of thinking about it that will get you out of there. So some of the ways you might know that you're feeling anxious are you might have thought looping, where your mind loops endlessly on worries and fears. It's just like, it just doesn't stop. It doesn't leave you alone. You might wake up in the morning with a sense of dread. Your stomach might hurt before daily events, or you might not feel well, such as, work or school. You just be like, oh, I don't feel well. Certain types of people or certain people will make you super nervous. And instead of saying the problem's with you, you might just allow yourself the idea that, yeah, you're picking up on the vibe, right? There's a reason that you're not feeling good around those folks. Certain places, you're going to have a really bad vibe for you. You might sense natural disasters before they're happening. And so sometimes people who start to feel anxious can't put their finger on why. And then a couple of days later, a big natural disaster, a big event will happen. You might be unnerved by violent or strong weather. And usually this is because you're picking up on the natural fear we have when we feel unsafe, but also the fear of remembering past situations or past lives where the weather was part of a situation that didn't feel good, or you didn't feel safe. Violent movies or events affect you deeply. A lot of you out there, I myself can only watch a comedy. That's like the most I can go to. If it's like a thriller, or even mature audiences, like, no, just give me the comedies. That's what I can handle. I just can't deal with that vibe of something dark or that vibe of something dangerous. It's not a fit for my personal sensitivities, and probably not for a lot of you out there. You sometimes get nervous in crowds. You feel like, I got to get out of here. It's just way too much. You sometimes feel too sensitive for everyday life, going to the grocery store, waiting for the bus, driving in traffic, going to your job. Just feels like a lot, like too much, like you can't deal. You need to be in a safe, quiet space. So some of these are introvert trends, but what we're talking about is more than introvert. It's more like you don't feel safe. And so whether you are or aren't safe, you don't feel safe. And so you have these anxiety feelings come up. Let's see. You feel better when you're alone. Maybe you were abused as a child, emotionally, sexually, physically. Maybe you've been in abusive situations as an adult. Maybe you find it hard to relax and have fun. What does that mean to some of you? It's like, what is having fun? I'm just like working and doing my thing. What is this like having fun that everyone's doing? It might not be a fit for you. You might be sick a lot. And maybe you're sick. And maybe what you're really looking for is a way to sort of feel that protected feeling of not having to go to work, being in a quiet space, being by yourself, not being responsible for things in your life. You might self-medicate with alcohol, drugs, food, shopping, social media, TV, porn, exercise, or sleep. And I do want to say this, that's not what we're talking about today, but if you are having trouble with addiction, especially drugs and alcohol, once you stop those substances, a lot of these feelings just go away. You just don't have whatever's making you feel that way in your system. And so for the first time, you start to feel like you can deal with some of the things in your life. So just if you've been thinking about that, like, oh, I'm smoking pot because I'm so anxious, maybe the pot is actually increasing your anxiety. Oh, I'm having a drink to calm down. Over time, that shifts so that the alcohol makes it worse. And I guess I would add into this, anything that you're using as a bridge to get out of the anxiety, you're using as a way to disassociate from how you feel. And finally, maybe you distract yourself with overwork. A lot of folks find work as a solace, but also it's a way that we're distracting ourselves from what's happening right in front of us. Because usually when we're present with what's happening, even if it's a very rough thing, and I know I have, and I know you have, we have all gone through really rough stuff. So when we face what's there, instead of distracting and all the ways we can distract, we have a better way of dealing with it, rather than distracting or being under the influence or just that. So that's something to look at. So I'd like to offer you 4 ways of thinking about a situation if you're feeling anxious. And I'd love for you to add all the other skills that you know that are psychological or physical, add those. But here's just 4 ways spiritually or energetically to think about it. And the first one is this question: when something happens, when you start to feel anxious, you get a feeling, you're not quite sure why, you just sort of feel that edgy feeling. And so the first question I ask myself, because as empaths and sensitives, we're always feeling everything, right? The first question I ask myself is it here? Is it in the room with me? Is it in the house with me? Is it in my area? Is it actually here? Or is it just in my mind or in my sensing? Is it here? Is it physically happening right to me in this space? And a lot of times when you have that edgy feeling, I don't know what it is, I can't quite put my finger on it, I just feel super anxious. Is it here? No, it's not here. Okay, It's not here. I can just relax a little in that knowing. It's not here. Number two, a way to think about this, is it now? So a lot of times, especially you guys who are picking up on natural disasters or future events. So when we look at this idea of is it now, what we're doing is we're saying it's not in the past, it's not in the future. We're looking for what's happening now. Because a lot of times we're triggered by things that draw us back to the past, or we're triggered by things that make us worry that the future is going to be bringing that trigger back or that danger back. Just like, is it here? Is it in my physical reality? No. Is it now? Is it in my present time? Or am I actually hooking back into something from the past, something I think might be coming or I'm sensing is coming in the future? Possibly even, maybe I'm picking up from past lives. So is it now brings us to what is happening in my space, in the here and in the now. Most cases, if it's not in either of those two places, in the space dimension or the time dimension, okay, we've got a worry thing going on. We've got something in our mind. Then I ask, and here's where, so we take a look at the mind. Is it real? Is this a real thing that's happening? Like, is it happening? Is it actually taking place? Is it real? Is there really an intruder in my house? Or am I just thinking there is? Or maybe I'm in a past life, I had an intruder, or in the past, I had an intruder, or I'm always worried I'm going to have an intruder. And so we're looking at, is it real? Is this a real thing, or is this something that my mind is kind of going on that anxiety groove, right? Just play the groove again. It's not real. So now we know it's not here. It's not now. It's not even real. It's in my thoughts. And then the last piece that I think is so useful, especially in this time of internet and social media and this sort of onslaught of group thought that is more pervasive than what we used to experience before social media. The question, is it mine? Now, just if you're watching this, it's most likely you're an intuitive or a sensitive or an empath. You're a person that's picking up on the vibe, you're picking up on the energy, you sort of self-selected. That's why you're here. And this question, is it mine? It's quite possible and very probable that what you are actually picking up on is an energy in the collective. And goodness knows, during this time, we have been going through massive trauma. And so this question, is it mine, or does it belong to a family member or a friend? They're having this worry, and so you're sort of taking that worry on for them. Or maybe in the collective, you're feeling all this onslaught, you're getting all this group thought plowing into your brain from social media or from wherever you're getting it. Is it mine? Does this belong to me, or am I just sensing what's out there? So when you go through these 4 questions, things relax a lot. In most cases, in a given moment, you are safe, you're secure, you can relax, you can enjoy, right? You don't have to be on hypervigilance all the time. So anyway, just wanted to pass those ideas. I know a lot of you guys that are sensitive also, sensitivity, wonderful, anxiety, not so great. They tend to go hand in hand. But those questions, is it here? Is it now? Is it real? And is it mine? May help you out get you back on track to a relaxed place. If you'd like to know more about this, we've got the course, The Anxiety Project, which you can read about. It's on my website, sarawiseman.com. And there's lots of other courses there. So anyway, thanks everybody, and be with you next time.